Welfare concerns associated with horses and other equines involve their use within races, their use within dressage and other equestrian events, their use as urban carriage horses, and their use in developing nations. High-performing racehorses are extremely valuable animals and can bring large financial rewards to their owners. Accordingly, they're very carefully safeguarded. They may have expensive stables, they may have around-the-clock monitoring, individual grooms assigned to them, high levels of husbandry and veterinary care. Unfortunately, surveys have indicated, however, that a very large proportion of racehorses are stabled in isolation, have limited opportunity to exercise, and limited opportunity to engage in normal grazing and social interactions. Horses are highly social animals, and this is very stressful for them and results in a variety of behavioural pathologies, particularly stereotypical behaviours which are repetitive, apparently purposeless behaviours such as weaving, crib biting and wind sucking, which are believed to indicate stress, which is both profound and chronic. The large financial purses available to race winners unfortunately creates an incentive to break the rules, and there have been horses found with things like sponges inserted deep within their nasal cavities to decrease their performance on the racetrack. Other horses have been given drugs like sedatives to achieve the same effect. Horses have been given drugs like narcotics, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs and steroids to mask pain, often resulting from overtraining. Positive results in post-race blood tests for illegal drugs are rare, and when they do occur, they're usually explained away using the excuse that the drug was given by accident to the wrong horse. Racehorses typically weigh about 1,000 pounds or roughly 500 kilograms. They race at speeds above 25 miles an hour or about 40 kilometers an hour, and indeed in some cases considerably faster. And in handicap races, they're also required to carry substantial amounts of weight. All of these factors place their ligaments, tendons and bones under enormous strain. If anything alters the balance or the gait of these animals travelling at such high speeds, such as bends, crowding or obstacles that are found in races like hurdle racing and steeple racing, then falls can occur, and these can result in catastrophic injuries. Studies have indicated that of every 1,000 racing starts, more than a single horse is likely to die, and more than 3 horses are likely to be injured because of the risks associated with racing. Accordingly, it's important to have good veterinary facilities available at racetracks, but these vary widely with the level of expertise and equipment, depending very much upon the status of the race and the size of the financial rewards. Whipping is very controversial and widely used in racing, and in order for it to work from a behavioural perspective, it must have acquired the properties of a punishing device at some point in time. Whips do cause pain. They're also controversial because they don't always work. Some horses speed up, others slow down, and their use makes the least amount of sense when horses are unable to speed up when whipped, or when they're already accelerating despite being whipped. Similar concerns relate to other equipment that also causes pain and discomfort, such as the use of spurs and painful bits within horses' mouths. Because these highly trained athletes run so fast for such prolonged distances, and in handicap races also carry substantial amounts of weight, it involves major exertion and substantially raises the blood pressure of the horses. This can overcome the breakage pressure of the fine capillaries inside the lungs, causing internal bleeding. This is known as exercise-induced pulmonary hemorrhage. Surveys have indicated that just about all racehorses suffer from this condition at some point in their careers. Build-up of blood inside the lungs can cause bleeding difficulties, and when bleeding becomes catastrophic, can even result in sudden death. The appropriate response is to decrease the strain on the horses by decreasing the race durations, the amount of weight that they have to carry, and so on. But unfortunately, the standard industry response is actually to give the injection furosemide, or a similar drug which causes diuresis, which is urination out of the blood volume, thereby decreasing the blood pressure. In endurance races, horses typically race distances from 50 to 150 miles over 1 or more days. This can cause mechanical problems such as stresses and strains upon muscles, ligaments and tendons, leading to lameness. The outcomes can include things like incapacitation, death, a variety of metabolic diseases such as colic, heat stroke, exhaustion, problems breathing, and the beginning of breakdown of the muscles of the body. Unfortunately, some endurance racing organisations prohibit the use of therapeutic drugs within endurance races. Dressage is something that is steeped in tradition and burdened with much untested dogma. New Age trainers and so-called horse whisperers use anthropocentric language and euphemisms to disguise what is actually chasing and fear responses of horses as they essentially chase them around the rings. The use of fear as a training method has been completely abandoned within modern pedagogy and learning theory, but unfortunately its use still persists within equestrian events. Soaring is designed to accentuate the lifting up of the front legs and the exaggerated gait of Tennessee walking horses and related breeds. It involves the application of irritating or blistering agents, lacerations, or the injection of illegal substances into the lower limbs to make them painful. Action devices involves the use of chains, ankle rings, collars, rollers, and similar devices that are designed to slide up and down the painful limb, increasing the pain further. Performance packages such as stacks or pads are devices added to the sole of the horse that's designed to increase the weight, increase the strike force, alter the strike angle, or apply pressure to the base of the sole, causing discomfort. Within the United States, soaring was prohibited by the Horse Protection Act of 1970, but unfortunately the use of action devices and performance packages remains legal. A variety of means can be used to alter the conformation of the tails and to prevent them from inadvertently swishing and flicking and ruining an equestrian show. Nicking and pricking involves cutting the tendons of tails, and gingering involves injecting an irritant within the rectum, and both of these are designed to elevate the tail carriage. Blocking, deadening or nerving involves injecting alcohol or other toxins around the nerves supplying the tail, which cause it to hang limply. All of these interfere with the natural functioning of the tail, which is important to prevent attacks by flies and other biting insects, and also for horses to communicate to one another their mental states and physiological status, such as being on heat. In the old cities of Europe and some other countries, thousands of tourists enjoy romantic and historic rides on horse-drawn carriages. However, the welfare of these animals has been the subject of increasing concern in recent years because of excessive working hours, the inability to graze throughout the day, the risks of road traffic accidents on these increasingly crowded old city streets, the risks of pollution and injuries. Accordingly, regulations are being introduced into some of these regions to ensure the horses receive a better standard of care, more rest, better nutrition, and that first aid supplies are on hand to at least try to deal with injuries that might occur. Within the developing world, there are approximately 100 million working horses, donkeys and mules, and as many as 300 million people that depend upon them, and that's around about 1/20th of the human population on the earth. These animals are used for activities such as ploughing, sowing, harvesting and threshing, transporting all manner of domesticated and agricultural goods. Sadly, however, they often suffer from poor nutrition, poor harness design and use, inappropriate management, lack of basic preventative health care. Additional problems can include overwork, wounds, lameness, colic, and infectious diseases. Economic factors often constrain marginalised communities from accessing resources such as good quality feed and water, appropriate harnessing and equipment, appropriate farriery for hoof care, adequate shelter, and adequate basic preventative health care. For horses that finally reach the end of their working careers, a variety of fates awaits. One of these, sadly, is transportation to slaughter for human consumption or for use in the pet food industry. The standard of the trucks used for slaughtering varies widely, and there are substantial animal welfare concerns when transportation chains are very prolonged. Horses have faithfully served human beings for well over 5,000 years, and they deserve far better than the treatment we too often give them.